Welcome back, folks, and this week I promise I'm taking a break from the dumping letters of trauma on you. No cult goddesses, no generational suffering, no identity forged in fire. Instead, we're going to be talking about halflings. The small folk, or the hidden as they like to be called, the lovers of comfort, courtesy and the simple things in life, and the species I would like to be a part of if you ask my opinion. So let's enjoy talking about the halflings. Before we get into it, if you're enjoying this, there's Githyanki, Drow and Tiefling videos as well, and next week I'm going to be doing a viewer request and discussing the Drow Pantheon, Beyond Lolth, and if you like that, please like and subscribe. Now let's get into it. In the lore of the halfling, their history is described as largely unremarkable. They don't have towering empires like the elves, they don't have ancient grudges carved into stone like the dwarves, and with the exception of the Lyrian, they rarely had a unified homeland. They appeared relatively late in the world's history, around the time of the dwarves and elves, and then they just existed, and that's quite interesting in the world of D&D, because when a people are not defined by conquest, what does define them? Just happy little folk, I guess. And this is the appeal in halflings. Again, not a one-to-one comparison, but I remember watching Lord of the Rings as a kid, and this is the kind of mentality I had when people were like, oh, I wish it was like Legolas or Aragorn, and who doesn't? I would gravitate towards more Hobbit. God, who would not want to live in Bag End? It just looked comfortable. And halflings, they aren't exactly the same as the hobbits from Lord of the Rings, but they have a love of good food, good company, good stories, warm homes, and a well-stocked pantry. They enjoy life's simple pleasures in a way almost echoing Epicurean, the ancient Greek philosopher who taught that happiness comes not from excess, but from modest pleasure, close friendship, and freedom from fear. Halflings seem to understand something profound. You don't need much to live well, but here is the psychological tension. Simplicity can be wisdom, or it can become avoidance. There's a fine line between enjoying ale with friends and using comfort to ignore the wider world, something I feel we are all very guilty of. Believe me, I will enjoy a nice cup of tea, vanilla chai, thanks to a very good friend of mine, and doom scrolling to my heart's content, wrapped up in a big heavy blanket, rather than maybe doing something about all the problems in my life and in the world. Sometimes it's healthy, sometimes it goes too far. And like myself, I have to ask, are halflings peaceful because they are enlightened, or because they prefer not to confront or conflict? This ambiguity gives them depth. Halflings are intensely family orientated. Where other races build nations, halflings build households. Where others build monuments, halflings build kitchens. Again, real appeal to me. When you don't have a dominant national identity, family becomes the nation. Their love of braided hair is a beautiful metaphor. Strands woven together into something stronger than the individual. In many Celtic traditions, braiding symbolizes unity, community, individual fragility, and collective resilience. And this love of family is one of the reasons where, well, halflings rarely adventure. Leaving isn't just travel, it's separation from the core of who you are. But don't mistake gentleness for weakness. What's that saying from the wise man's fear? It's beware of like the wrath of a gentleman. If you threaten a halfling's family, what they lack in height, they will make up for in tenacity. Their bravery isn't loud, it's protective. Many halflings, or the Hin, don't truly have a homeland. They roam, they settle among humans, they prefer communities that reject slavery and cruelty. Again, another reason why I just love these little bastards. Without land to anchor identity, culture has to live somewhere else, so it lives in memory. Halflings are rich in oral tradition. They preserve stories so carefully that they sometimes remember truths long forgotten by larger civilizations. When you don't build statues, you build storytellers, and food serves the same purpose. Cheese, bread, ale, and more cheese are what fill a happy hen's stomach. Agriculture, shared meals, and feasts for days aren't just comforts, they're cultural continuity. Halflings are famously polite, cordial, and adaptive. They adjust to the bigger folk around them, and here's where psychology gets interesting. In transactional analysis, we talk about the adaptive child, the part of us that learns to survive by reading authority figures and adjusting accordingly. This is something I can be very guilty of as well, where if I'm in a very uncomfortable situation, I tend to try and be unseen until there's something I can fix. Children in unstable or unsafe environments often become highly attuned to mood shifts, and they learn to keep the peace, avoid conflict, downplay their own needs, and make others comfortable. Yeah, that's me. Now imagine being a small race living among physically larger and stronger peoples. Courtesy may not just be kindness, it might be strategy. That doesn't make halflings manipulative, it makes them socially intelligent. Politeness can be armor, and adaptability can be resilience. Another thing I love about the halflings is that they constantly look for the best in people. That could be naive, but it could also be courageous. To believe in goodness in a world of dragons and tyrants is not weakness, it's a choice. And sometimes choosing warmth in a harsh world is the bravest thing you can do. Halflings are often dismissed as simple, but simplicity is not the absence of depth. It may be a survival strategy. They do not dominate, they do not conquer, they endure. They preserve memory through story, identity through family, culture through food, and safety through courtesy. Small does not mean insignificant, sometimes it means resilient. If you enjoyed this slightly softer dive into fantasy psychology, like and subscribe. And next week we're going to be back to trauma, because I did promise one of the subscribers that I'm going to discuss the Dark Elf Pantheon. I think it's really interesting, especially because Lolth is a fascinating character, but the rest of the Dark Elf Pantheon is, in my opinion, far more interesting to talk about. So we will see you then. As always, tune in on Tuesdays. Bye guys.